Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm super excited about this particular live. Um, I've been struggling, searching, seeking, yearning, looking for the missing piece my whole life. There's a lot of us, a lot of people in America especially, and I don't really know about all the statistics around the world. I don't study that. But there's a lot of people that have been through many different childhood abuses: physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental, emotional, I don't know, just crazy abuses, because we're about 75 to 80 or 85% of us grow up in households where our parents were also somehow abused, but didn't really know that that's what it was. It's easy for our little minds to forget about that or to feel as though we overcome things, but the body never forgets. So I am one of the people that grew up in a household where it could have been a lot better. I believe with all my heart my parents did the absolute best that they could, but I just feel like they just didn't have a lot to give. And so how do you give something you don't have? So I've spent my entire adult life around self help and women's circles and trying to find this answer to why do I feel like there's something missing? So, do you feel like that? Do you have that sense inside of you? Like maybe you're accomplished in so many things, especially in business, but there's still that sense that something's missing. Or maybe you feel like you're accomplished, but why do I never feel quite good enough? Like there's just this little some nagging piece there. So I was fortunate enough to discover some information that has allowed me to move out of kind of a survival type of a role, especially emotionally, and into a thriving role. So I would like to share a little bit about that with you. It is the reason that I started this business, and it's to help other people that are like me, with the discomfort from childhood, but to learn and find and explore and gather this missing piece to feel whole again or for the first time. I'm not really sure. So I know that we grow up in a way, most of us grow up in a way where our parents and our teachers and our schools and our businesses and work, it's like we've got command of the physical world. That is just such not a problem. We can get taught all the things like how to cook and ride a bike and drive a car and get dressed and do the things at work. But that's all part of the physical world. And a lot of people will also teach like religious practices because it's another level. I'm going to just call it spiritual, the spiritual world. So for you, whether that is God, Goddess, Allah, the universe, the greater self, whatever you want to call it, all of that I'm encompassing as the spiritual world in this conversation. So we're often taught like these rituals, if you will. Some people, like if they do meditation, it's very specific, or if you go to religion, like church or synagogue or whatever, very, very specific things to do. And for some people, that satisfies them. And that's awesome. If that works for you, that's great. But for a lot of us, it just didn't. It was lacking, and there was no words to say what's missing for me. So I never knew how do I go find the thing that's missing. So over time, I decided to delve into the more, I don't know, I'm going to say the spiritual world and learn certain aspects, like I'm going to call them modalities. So I don't know if you're like me, but I tried many, many things. I tried journaling, meditation, yoga, breath work, EFT, EAM, theta testing, chakras, tarot reading. I mean, I was like this litany, this long list. And each time I learned something new, it was fabulous and delicious. And there was something very wonderful about it. And I think in a way it helped calm me down. But there was still something missing. There was still this other something that I could not verbalize. What is this missing piece, right? So my 30 to 40 years of research and seeking and searching has kind of brought me to a place where I'm recognizing there's three aspects in our lives. There's the physical world, which we're very familiar with. There's the spiritual world, which some of us are familiar with and some of us aren't, or some more than others. But there's this in-between place, and I call it the emotional world. So I drew a little image to help you see. So we have this physical world, and then we have the spiritual world over here. And the emotional world, oops, I'm going the wrong way. The emotional world has a tendency to interrelate with the spiritual world, and the emotional world also interrelates with the physical world. And we learn about physical and we learn about spiritual, but we don't really learn about emotional. It's like we just have emotions. We just feel this way. So anyway, to get back to it. Okay, so both the spiritual and the emotional world are really intrinsically interconnected. And so I wanted to share some ways that they are. The emotional world overall, it refers to, I'm going to read this, refers to the realm of human emotions and how they are experienced, expressed, and they use the word regulated. I don't like that word, but we'll talk about that later, or not regulated. The spiritual world encompasses a person's beliefs, values, and a sense of purpose. And it's connected with meaning, right? We often think like, gosh, especially as you get older, it's like, the meaning in my life has changed. What used to fulfill me no longer does. And so we're going to take a look at three aspects, and they're going to be source, focus, and practice. Now, let me see if I can share my screen. I am hoping that you can see my screen. And since I'm not sure, I'm going to go ahead and read these for you. And I'll also put them in the comment section when we get off of this call or this live. So emotional, the source for emotional is a product of biological and psychological processes. Okay, that makes sense to me. The spiritual of that same source is often seen as a product of the human search for meaning and purpose beyond the physical realm. Okay, so it's a search. Got it. Okay, so the source either comes inside of me, biological, physiologically, psychologically, or it's searching outside of me. The focus for the emotional is on human feelings and experiences, and the focus on the spiritual is the search for something more, a deeper meaning and purpose. Practice. Emotional practice can be regulated through various strategies like cognitive reprisal and mindfulness practices, which is all the modalities that I talked about. And the spiritual often involves practices such as prayer, meditation, and other forms of, say, something more ritual. All right, so when I looked at that, I was like, oh, okay, to me, it makes sense that maybe you too, I don't know, you'll have to tell me, never learned how to connect with my emotional sense or my emotional sensibilities. So I never really learned how to connect with myself. Little self-awareness. They talked about regulation. I did not have any clue how to regulate my emotions. I often would just have a rage, yelling and screaming about something if something didn't go my way. So what's happened with us is very, at large, is like very generational, cultural, familial, societal, and we have a tendency to stay there because it's so comfortable. And if we go outside of that, we may lose the connection to our community. And that would be really, really painful. So we have a tendency to stay there. When we do stay there, a lot of times, we are guilted and shamed to doing what it is that other people want us to do. Well, that's not connecting with ourselves. That's making sure we stay safe and we don't get hurt, right? So we can break this mold. Some of us have learned how to say no to people, and maybe even in a way where it's compassionate with empathy, and we don't really, it isn't that horrible, but people are still challenged when we tell them no, but sometimes we have to do that for our own safe sanity, really. Okay. So, um, needing to learn how to incorporate the emotional world that we live in comes from two places. The emotions that we have a tendency to either lift us and make us feel better, or are heavy and we don't feel better. And I'm not going to get into extremes like what anger is and whether or not you should or shouldn't be angry about a particular thing, but just as an overall concept, typically emotions that make us feel better, that we feel uplifted, the other ones we feel heavy. So the thing that I have come to learn, so if you take out nothing else from this, the one thing that I've come to really learn is that every emotion we have, every single one, we're either fulfilling a need, or I'm sorry, either our need has gotten fulfilled or our need has been left unmet. Even if we have uplifting, fulfilling emotions, we had a good time with a friend, we got a new partner, we got all this like deliciousness going on, our needs for whatever, could be our needs, our beliefs, or our values, they're getting met. What people are saying, things to us that make us feel good, or they're doing what they call acts of service. If you think of the five love languages, people are helping us feel better emotionally. Versus the heavy side is more like, oh, I wonder why they don't call me back, or they don't like me anymore. Those are needs that are not getting fulfilled, which might be a need for belonging. So I'm going to explain this in the physical world description, and then we're going to apply it to an emotional example. So in the physical world, like I said, you've learned how to master that. Let's say you're outside and all of a sudden it's like gotten really cold and all you have on is a t-shirt. I would say probably 99% or 100 of us, we're not going to stand there and wait for somebody else to fulfill our need, which would be a need for warmth, right? Whether it's a jacket, a sweater, a blanket, doesn't matter, fire, whatever, go inside. But we have a need for warmth, we fulfill that ourselves. If we have a need, we're hungry, we fulfill that ourselves. We just don't wait for other people to do it. And it's just so natural. I mean, I don't know about you, when I was little, it was like, if I was like, I'm cold, it was like, well, take your happy ass in your room and go get a jacket on. Like you go do it, right? So we would do this, and we learned how to care for ourselves on the physical plane. But we waited for somebody, and I don't want to blame parents, they didn't know any better, but we waited for somebody, which is typically our caregivers. So we'll include all family members, neighbors, coaches, whatever, to help teach us how to take care of our emotional needs, when the same way that they taught us, even if it was a little rough, how to take care of your physical needs. But we don't know how to do that. And so we're really waiting for other people. So think about waiting for someone to bring you a jacket, waiting for somebody else to decide, okay, I think I'm ready to go feed you. It's like, why would we subject ourselves to that? But when we aren't clear about what those needs are, when we can't voice what our maybe disempowering beliefs are, when we either can't verbalize, we don't know, or we don't know how to live in our values, we're going to live from a place of lack, and it's the missing pieces, actually. But the overarching missing piece is, how do I navigate my emotional world so that I can bring all these three worlds together and have a feeling of wholeness and fulfillment. All right, you guys, that's it for today. I am Debbie Pearson, helping you become more awesome on the inside. Look forward to seeing you next time.